So good afternoon. Thanks you all for being here. And I think I'm going to start out this afternoon session with a question. And that question is, do you ever feel like you're playing Tetris with your schedule? Like you have all of these things to do, and yet there's always more coming down the line, more pieces that you have to find a place to fit. Yeah, I can be at that meeting. Yeah, I can manage this. I can take on this project. I can be there for that. Until it gets to the point where you have all of this built up and you fail. And when you fail, you have to completely restart from zero. This is a situation that I found myself in all of the time. And it was very frustrating. Because if you're like me, if you're doing something and you're investing your time into it, it's because you love it. And if you love it, you want to be able to do it well. But when I was spread between all these different things, I wasn't able to fully commit myself to any of them and do them well. I wasn't able to actually give my 100% because of all the different things I was trying to do. And throughout this process of failing and restarting and trying again and rebuilding, I developed something that I call my flow. And it's basically how I let my passions shape my schedule and not the other way around. Now, before I get into this a little bit more, I'd like to introduce myself some and let you know who I am and why I'm passionate about this. So my name is Augustus Cook. I am 22 years old and a fourth-year student here at the University of Central Oklahoma, where I am enrolled full-time as a student studying the field of kinesiology, exercise, fitness management. Out of the classroom, I'm the president of the President's Leadership Council and the vice president of membership development for the Pi Kappa Alpha fraternity, Lambda Iota chapter. Off of campus, I'm employed as a coach at the Oklahoma City River Sport Canoe Kayak Racing Team, where I also compete as an athlete in the sport of sprint kayaking. And I've taken that to the junior, senior, and under 23 World Championships, as well as most recently the Pan American Games, where we earned a bronze medal and set an American record. So with all of that, long term, my goal is to take both my athletic aspirations and my coaching aspirations to the Olympics. But that's a lot to manage. And the situation that I found myself in, like I talked about, was that I wasn't able to get it all done and I wasn't able to fully commit myself. And one of the many times that I failed at this, I decided to take a different approach, and I sort of had this realization. And how this realization came to me might be something that you're familiar with, that you've seen in other people, that you've seen in yourself. But I'm going to use the example of someone going to the gym. And I'm sure we all know at least one person, or again, maybe ourselves, who said, you know what? 2024, new year, new me. I'm going to be in there Monday morning, 7 a.m., working out. And you see that person on Monday, and you say, hey, man, how was the gym? How'd it go? Well, I woke up at 6:35 instead of 6:30, and then I was going to be 5 minutes late to the gym, then 5 minutes late to work, and I had this project. So I couldn't do it today, but I'll be there tomorrow. I'll be there the next day. Day after that, and they consistently don't go until it gets to the point where they don't even talk about it anymore. And I looked at that, and I realized this person doesn't really care. They don't really want to do it. It's not something they're intrinsically motivated to do. When it comes down to it, they will look for reasons not to do it rather than reasons to do it. It doesn't make them passionate. It doesn't get them out of bed in the morning. And so I thought, okay, what am I doing that way? What am I avoiding? What do I know that I need to do, but I'm still not doing? What am I running from? And what if we flip that again? What do I want to do? What do I always make time for? What am I truly passionate about? What, when I'm playing Tetris, do I always make fit? What will I never put on the back burner? And I encourage you to think of that too. I'm sure you all have at least one thing in your life that you truly love and that you wish you could do more of. And for me, I identified three main areas. And that was my campus involvement, my friends and my family, and my athletic pursuits. At the end of the day, those are the things that define me. Those are the things that make me passionate, that make me happy, that get me out of bed in the morning. That if I don't have any other option, I will never put them on the back burner. And yet, as I said, I wasn't able to fully commit to them. And I thought about this because I'd come to this realization time and time again. I'd come to this point where I'd failed and rebuilt and realized this is what I care about, but I don't have time for it. But then I thought a little deeper. And I did something that you're all welcome to do with me today if you would like, but I got on my phone and I went to the settings app. And in the settings app, you can see your screen time. And I realized that in my incredibly busy day, where I didn't have enough time to do the things that I knew I truly loved and that I wanted to do more of, I did have time for 3.5 hours of Instagram. And I thought about that and I said, okay, There's a disconnect here somewhere. Because not only do I not care about Instagram, it is not important to my life at all. But yet, I found the time for it. And so I started to realize what this was. It's time clutter. It is stuff that impedes my workflow, impedes the things that I really need to do and the things that I care about. And it's the same as clutter in my room. And guilty as charged, I'm the type of person who will let clutter accumulate. A piece of laundry here, a pen there, unfiled paper, until it gets to the point where I've got to do an assignment or a project or whatever, and I need to spend 30 to 40 minutes cleaning up my space or going somewhere else before I can even get started, because I know that clutter is going to impede my workflow. And yet, I hadn't ever thought of time clutter. And I realized that I had to find a way to quantify my time, to figure out where I was actually spending my day. And so what I started using is this very rudimentary compass. And it's a little bit like a political compass, if you're familiar. But on the top, we have stuff that's important, right? If you're juggling a lot of things, and some of them are made of glass and some of them are made of rubber, this is the glass. You can't drop this. It is consequential. If you fail at this, there will be negative consequences. On the bottom, we have stuff that's unimportant. That does not mean it's not always valuable. But at the end of the day, if you can't get to do it, it's rubber. It's going to bounce. It's going to be okay. On the left, we have stuff that we care about. These are our passions. This left side is where we want to spend most of our time. It's what we care about. It's what we love. And on the right, we have the stuff that we don't care about. And for me, what I identified is, much like the gym, all the things that I was avoiding were in this top right. It was important, but I didn't care about it. I didn't want to do it. It didn't make me happy. I didn't wake up and say, oh, I can't wait to do that, right? Because I didn't care about it. But it was still important. And in order to be able to spend more time over here doing what I loved, I had to get it out of the way. I had to start earlier. And that enabled me to spend a lot more time in this golden zone, which is the important stuff that we care about. This is it. This is your bread and butter. This is your passion, what you want to spend your life doing. And it could be anything. It could be your athletics. It could be art. It could be culinary skills, music, your major, your job, whatever it is. This is what you love. And it moves your life forward. There are no downsides here. We want to spend our time here. And the bottom left, we have stuff that we care about, but isn't super consequential. And I want to be very clear. That doesn't mean that it's not valuable. That doesn't mean that it doesn't have its place. I think it is incredibly valuable. But if you don't get to do it, nothing bad happens. But this is how we de-stress. Because just because you care about something, and just because it's important, doesn't mean that it's not stressful. And so this is like your productive leisure time. This is engaging in something that fulfills you and recharges you and makes you more ready to tackle the things that are important that you care about. And so I think it's very important. So just because it says unimportant, it doesn't mean that it's not valuable. And in the bottom right, that's the danger zone. For me, that was 3.5 hours on Instagram, which, mind you, is one app. Regardless of the time that I spent 2 hours here or an hour and a half or 45 minutes or whatever on different other apps, the main one in and of itself was 3.5 hours. And I realized, I did the math. Assuming that I lived the average lifespan, from this day forward, if I continued to spend 3.5 hours a day on Instagram, by the time that I died, I would have spent 8 years of my remaining time on this earth on Instagram. Something that was not important and that I did not care about. I couldn't tell you in one 3.5-hour session one significant thing that I learned, one connection that I made, one memory that I have forever, whereas all these other things on the left and even on the right, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm expanding, I'm making new relationships, and yet I wasn't, because all of my time was getting cluttered up here. And so with this, I started to develop a system and realized that I want to spend as much time as possible here. So I got to get this done first. And then when I need to recharge, I go here. And what that allowed me to do was develop a baseline. And like I talked about earlier, now when I'm playing Tetris and I fail, because I'm not going to tell you that I'm perfect, I fail at this all of the time. But instead of restarting from zero and saying, okay, I need to take a weekend to just do nothing and reset, and I got to get this, and I had a place to go. I didn't have to start from zero. Now I have my baseline, and if I need to add something in, I can, and I can try it, and if it works, great. And if not, I know where to go back to. Or if I have a big assignment that I got to work on, I know where to pull from so that I can give more energy to my other areas. But this allowed me to develop a system, a support system. It allowed me to develop a safety net. And it's like if you're learning the tightrope, it's going to be a lot easier if you have a safety net, right? Because if you fail, you're not just going to plummet all the way back down. There's a great quote on this attributed to James Clear, and it says, "We rise to the level of our aspirations and fall to the level of our support systems." So instead of falling back to ground zero, find your support system so that you can fully operate and not have to worry about complete failure. Because failure itself is not the enemy. But restarting all the way back from zero, it's just the same cycle. And so, as I wrap up today, my main points are really figure out what you're passionate about. Find how you want to live your life, how you want to spend your time. And I bet there's a way you can do more of it. It might be my system, it might be your own system. But I bet there's a way you can do more of the things that you love. And if you're doing stuff that you don't love, don't live for it. We don't have enough time here to waste time. And I would rather fail repeatedly while trying to live a life that I genuinely love than succeed at living a life that leaves something to be desired. My name is Augustus Cook. Thank you for your time.